She'll never say it out loud, never post it on social media, never discuss it with her girlfriends over wine, but watch her actions. Watch who she texts back instantly. Watch who makes her nervous. Watch who she thinks about when she's alone at 2 a.m. The man getting her attention isn't the one bringing her coffee every morning. It's not the guy who remembers her middle name or asks about her therapy sessions. It's not you, the one who's been taught that emotional availability equals attraction. It's him, the one who forgot to reply for 3 days, the one who doesn't flinch when she's having a breakdown, the one who somehow makes her feel like she's competing for his attention rather than receiving it as a given. Here's the first brutal truth she'll never admit. Your emotional investment doesn't create desire. It creates obligation. Every time you lean in harder, text longer paragraphs, share deeper feelings, you're not building intimacy. You're building her comfort zone. And comfort zones don't generate electricity. They generate friendship. She doesn't want to hurt your feelings by telling you this. She genuinely appreciates your kindness. She values your consistency. But appreciation and arousal live in completely different neighborhoods of the female psyche. The second truth cuts deeper. She's not testing you to be cruel. She's testing you because her biology demands it. When she cancels last minute, shows up late, or goes cold for days, this isn't random chaos. This is her unconscious mind running diagnostics on your strength. Will you fold? Will you chase? Will you become smaller in response to her pulling away? Most men fail this test because they interpret it as a problem to solve rather than a dynamic to navigate. The third brutal truth. She doesn't want equality in attraction. She wants polarity. Despite everything society tells her about wanting a partner who shares household duties and feelings equally, her deepest attractions pull towards something entirely different. She craves the tension that comes from masculine certainty meeting feminine flow. When you mirror her emotional state, when you become as reactive as she is, when you seek the same validation she seeks, you eliminate the very dynamic that creates sexual tension. You become her emotional twin, and twins don't create sparks. She won't tell you this because it contradicts everything she's been taught to believe about modern relationships. But watch her body language around the man who stays calm when she's spiraling. Notice how she responds to the guy who doesn't apologize for taking up space. The fourth truth will shake you. Your pain doesn't inspire her protection. It inspires her withdrawal. You've been conditioned to believe that vulnerability creates connection. Sometimes it does, but only when it flows from strength, not from need. When you open up from a place of emotional stability, sharing your depth because you choose to, that's magnetic. But when you bleed your insecurities, your fears, your desperate need for reassurance all over her, that's not vulnerability. That's emotional dumping. And it triggers something primal in her that makes her want to create distance. She'll never tell you that your tears made her uncomfortable. She'll never admit that your neediness made her skin crawl. She'll find polite ways to pull back while telling herself she's just not ready for something serious. Here's the fifth truth that cuts deepest. She's attracted to your potential to walk away, not because she wants you to leave, but because she needs to know you could. The man who has options, who has a life worth protecting, who won't sacrifice his identity for her attention, that's the man who keeps her interested. Your desperation signals that you have nothing else going on. Your availability at all hours tells her she's your only source of excitement. Your willingness to drop everything for her communicates that everything else in your life is disposable. She interprets this not as love, but as emptiness, dressed up as devotion. The sixth brutal truth. She doesn't fall for effort. She falls for effortlessness. All those thoughtful gestures, those long texts crafted with care, those sacrifices you make to prove your worth, they're creating the opposite effect. They signal that winning her requires work, which means keeping her will require even more work. The man who seems naturally attractive, who doesn't appear to be trying hard, who treats interactions with her as enjoyable but not essential, he's the one who haunts her thoughts, because scarcity creates value, and effort signals abundance of time and desperation. She'll never admit, that your grand romantic gestures felt heavy rather than heartwarming. She'll never tell you that your constant attention made her feel suffocated rather than cherished. The seventh truth will revolutionize how you see rejection. When she says, "I'm not ready for a relationship," she means, "I'm not ready for a relationship with you." Because 3 weeks later, when she's posting pictures with someone new, you'll understand that readiness isn't about timing. It's about tingles. It's about the feeling she gets when she's around a particular type of energy. She's not lying when she says she's not ready. She genuinely doesn't feel ready for the kind of relationship you're offering, one where she'd have to manage your emotions, boost your confidence, and carry the masculine energy because you've handed yours over. But she's absolutely ready for the relationship that makes her feel feminine, desired, and slightly uncertain about where she stands. That's the relationship that excites rather than exhausts her. The eighth brutal truth. Your nice guy behavior isn't nice. It's strategic. Deep down, she knows you're not being kind without expecting something in return. She can sense the contract you've written in your mind. If I'm good enough to you, you'll want me. And that pressure, that expectation, that unspoken negotiation makes your kindness feel manipulative rather than genuine. True kindness doesn't keep score. True kindness doesn't expect sexual or romantic returns. When your generosity comes with invisible strings attached, she feels those strings, and they make her want to cut them. Here's the final brutal truth that changes everything. She's not your enemy. She's your mirror. Every woman who has pulled away, gone cold, or chosen someone else is reflecting back the energy you brought to the interaction. If you approached from need, she felt that need and recoiled. If you approached from abundance, she felt that abundance and leaned in. She's not consciously trying to hurt you or teach you lessons. She's simply responding to the frequency you're broadcasting. And that frequency is determined by how you feel about yourself when no one else is watching. The woman who can't stop thinking about you won't be responding to your techniques, your words, or your strategies. She'll be responding to the man you've become when you stop needing her validation to feel complete. This isn't about becoming cold or cruel. It's about becoming whole. It's about building a life so fulfilling that sharing it becomes a gift rather than a desperate offering. When you understand these truths, really understand them, something shifts. You stop taking her behavior personally because you recognize it as natural response to the energy you're projecting. You stop trying to convince her of your worth because you're too busy living it. And that's when everything changes. Not because you've learned to manipulate women, but because you've learned to respect yourself. The brutal truth she'll never admit. She's been waiting for you to figure this out all along.